I'm Christine Ging, and I am a PhD student in the Security and Privacy Lab advised by Franziska Rosner. And I do research on usable security, human-computer interaction, and misinformation. And today I'll be talking about a study I recently had published at CHI called Fake News on Facebook and Twitter, investigating how people don't investigate. And this is work I've done with Savannah Yee and Franzi Rosner, both from in the computer science department. So the research questions we had with this project was 1, how do people react to and interact with misinformation posts on their social media feeds? 2, how do people investigate whether a post is accurate? And 3, when people do investigate a post, what are the platform affordances they use, and what are the ad hoc strategies they use that could inspire future affordances? So there's related work in this area, but most of it had participants look at misinformation that came from a stranger. So we were wondering, how can we get a more valid understanding of how people interact with misinformation posts on their own feed? How can we do a study like this where participants see misinformation coming from people that they do know? In order to answer these questions, we conducted in-person interviews about participants' social media usage and a lab think aloud session as participants scrolled through their own feeds. We built a browser extension where we first used Snopes to find debunked posts covering politics, health, and miscellaneous topics. And we got a range of articles, memes, and text-only posts. Then we took these misinformation posts and, using the browser extension, replaced random posts in a person's social media feed on Twitter and Facebook with content that made it look like it contained misinformation. Though we stressed that participants couldn't actually share misinformation on their feed or offline. So a participant, for example, might see this tweet here on their feed as if it was liked or retweeted by someone they followed. And here's an example of a Facebook post which would appear on a participant's timeline as posted by someone they're friends with or an organization they follow. We recruited adults for our study who used Facebook or Twitter daily or weekly for news. 1/3 of our participants came from a large U.S. university, and participants were either left-leaning or independent. We conducted the study in a user study lab or a cafe, so this was done in person. We first had semi-structured interviews where we asked people about context for how and why they use social media. Then we had a think aloud session where participants installed the browser extension and scrolled through their feed while it was active. And during this time, the researchers would observe how people interacted with misinformation. Afterwards, we had a post-interview where we asked participants about their prior interactions with misinformation and how they debunked it. And after that, we had a debrief session where we showed participants the misinformation posts that we put on their feed. Given the nature of this study, we emphasized that participants could exit the study at any point and retain compensation. And during the debrief, to minimize any loss of self-esteem, we told participants it's quite common to have fake news show up on people's feeds, and it's extremely hard to catch. And the study was approved by UW's IRB. Our results can be broadly organized into 3 categories: interactions with posts, reasons for not investigating posts, and investigative strategies. So this chart breaks down the various ways people interacted or didn't interact with misinformation. So when someone saw a fake news article, they might choose to ignore it because the article was too long, or be skeptical of it because it looked unbelievable, and then either choose not to investigate for various reasons, such as political burnout, or choose to investigate it. And some participants also took misinformation at face value for various reasons, such as trusting the poster or being overconfident in the information they knew. Thank you.